thanks everybody for coming today. I'm Shannon Gale, I'm the station manager at GCTV. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be recording this in the hopes of getting it up on our channels and also up on the internet. And in addition to this presentation, we have a couple others scheduled between now and the end of December. So we hope that you'll keep an eye out for the library postings because they'll announce other presentations that we're going to be doing. This particular one is also going to be repeated in December. So if you happen to run into anybody who couldn't make today's presentation but wanted to, let them know that we're going to try to broadcast it, but also repeat the actual presentation in December here at the library. And today's presentation is just meant to be a general overview of what GCTV is and who can use it and how you can use GCTV. I'm going to talk for maybe about 20 minutes or so, 20-30 minutes, and go through the general overview. But then I want to open it up to everybody in the audience for specific questions that you might have come with or come up with in the course of my presentation that you might have for me. GCTV, or Guilford Community Television, is this community's vehicle to freedom of speech. We run production and broadcast facilities that are open to the entire community of Guilford to produce their own non-commercial programming. We provide free of charge training on how to use production equipment, video cameras, editing, studio equipment. We provide training to everybody who wants to learn how to produce their own programming. And then we also talk to you about, in that training also comes how to plan for its broadcast on our 3 public access channels, which are public, education, and government. Our channels run on Comcast cable, Frontier, and as we just kind of touched on a few minutes ago, we also do have an online presence. We have a YouTube channel, and where not everything but most of what is produced goes up on YouTube. That has to come from producer permission. Not everybody gives permission for us to put things up on the internet. But many do, and so when we get permission, it does go up. And right now we have over 1,000 videos online that people have given us permission to post. Notably, any town meeting that's been filmed for our channel goes up on the YouTube channel. We also have, that includes the special meetings for budget process. A lot of the political debates when there's local elections, those will get obviously broadcast on our channels, but also go up on YouTube and things like that. And so those are the type, but we train everybody how to plan for programming, how to produce programming, and then we also talk about how to, let people know that it's out there, that it's something to watch. And we train people of all ages and skill levels. Anybody in the Guilford community can get involved with GCTV in one way or another. So that brings us to who can use GCTV. When we say everybody, we mean everybody. We have nonprofits that have used GCTV to help promote not only their organization, but specifically upcoming events. Or to even film events that are happening, so that way they can share information about it after the fact. And we've had school over the years, the school system. We've had parents and other volunteers film school sports, school concerts. The town has utilized GCTV to film many of the town meetings and some public forums to relay information on upcoming budget information. Students have come in to use GCTV for class assignments, because we're seeing more and more now that there might be a video component to some classroom assignments, or students or have their own content that they want to make and can come in and use our station. We've had students as young as 7 come in and learn how to script and set up the studio and put together a show. And residents can come in and either because they're involved with a nonprofit or involved with the schools, or maybe they have something that they want to share, an idea, an opinion about what's going on in town, and they can come in and put together a program and learn how to use our equipment and speak their piece on whatever happens to be on their mind, and it will go up on the channel and be broadcast. All the programs that are produced belong to the people that produce them, not GCTV. And part of GCTV being a vehicle of freedom of speech is that we do not and cannot censor. So again, so long as the program itself is of a non-commercial nature, not selling anything for profit or promoting a person or business or thing for profit, then you can produce a program for GCTV. And on that particular point, that also gets to under who can use GCTV. It might seem a little contrary, but businesses can also use GCTV, and that's a misconception that because the programming itself has to be non-commercial, businesses think that they can't use GCTV, and they can. So scenarios in which a business can use GCTV, let's say that there's a yoga instructor or karate instructor. They can't promote themselves or their business commercially, but they have information to share with the community, and they can give a demo of certain karate moves or yoga poses, maybe something, maybe they want to share something, stress relief for upcoming exams or something like that. And they want to give like a 5-minute morning routine yoga instruction. They're allowed, they can certainly do that. They can share that information. They can identify themselves as a yoga instructor at the very beginning of a program just to establish their credibility. And then after that, they're just going to provide the information on maybe what yoga is, what its health benefits are, without ever mentioning their business, their prices, or anything like that. Businesses can use GCTV the same as anybody else, just to be visible in the community as to what they offer in terms of knowledge and information and just who's here in town. And that's totally fine. So that gets to how can you use GCTV. So obviously the big one is use GCTV to produce programs and to also watch the programs that are on and learn about the community around you, what's going on, who's involved in different organizations and activities, what are some of the big issues that people are concerned about, are all ways that you can use GCTV. You can also, if you're not interested so much in producing your own program, you can come and volunteer. And sometimes volunteer is also earning community service hours. High school students need a certain number of community service hours in order to graduate. I've understood that also, in addition to that, I do believe that there's some honors programs and even churches that will require an additional set of community service hours. And I've even had a couple people come in because their employer required community service hours and they needed to complete a certain amount before they could submit an application for employment. So those are all ways you can come in and help out on somebody else's show. And all those things are anything like that, there's usually forms to fill out provided by the school or institution. So it's usually anybody that needs community service hours, they come and coordinate with me, show me the proper forms ahead of time. I check in with whoever the supervisor is, and we put them to work. Hopefully doing something, helping out on somebody else's show and learning the production process along the way. But sometimes it's just a matter of we need help around the studio. We teach them how to help maintain the equipment, basically how you clean cameras and screens and things like that, helping us to organize a variety of cables and things, if it's only they need a little bit of time and, we're not getting too involved. We have a little bit of everything that we show people how to do. Students have earned course credit through us as well. Again, if they've done that through the high school in the form of a capstone project, and sometimes there is internship opportunities for some sort of a course credit. So if that kind of opportunity has presented itself at the high school through counselors, and a student wants to do something like that through GCTV, then again, they come, they talk to me or get the counselors involved and talk to me about what the requirements are, how many hours are needed, you know, what kind of paperwork and oversight we might have to fill out, but you know, that's worked out very well. And college students have also earned course credit working with an advisor for independent study. Usually it involves putting in a certain amount of hours, helping out and learning the ropes of the business of video production and how GCTV in general operates. And then there's a project, an independent project that they also have to work on, scripting and filming and editing. And you know, they work directly with us and then, you know, to meet those requirements. But the facilities are all at their disposal to use. And anything that's produced at GCTV does have to air at least once on our channel. They're still on the project, but if it's used, if our equipment is used, then we get to air it at least once. Because again, that's what GCTV is here for. We are definitely a training facility, but the ultimate goal is to create community produced programming. The other way that people can use GCTV is, you know, aside from video production, which again is the main thing, so much about the technology, you know, has changed. GCTV, public access in general, was created in the 70s as a response and an alternative to commercial programming. That you didn't have to pay anything in order to be able to get your voice heard and your program on the air. First come, first serve. It didn't matter if you know, if you made millions or not at all. If you had something to say, all you had to do was produce a video and get it on the air, and it would be shown to the Guilford community. But a lot's changed, and it's not just about picking up a video camera and producing a show. You know, now there's a lot with graphic design and animation, and you know, we maintain a website and social media. So if somebody has a more specific interest that isn't just about the creation of the video, but wants to get into something more fine-tuned and tailored, like animation or creating graphics or something like that, we'd still like to hear from them, because we can definitely make opportunities like that available and get people involved with that. So we want to hear from anybody who's interested in doing anything like that, because I've had students and adults alike who are looking to explore those areas of interest, help out by creating graphics for other people's shows, or to help me by creating graphics for GCTV's channel and website. I'm the only employee here, and I'm part-time at that. And then we have volunteers and interns that help with a lot of different things, everything from filming our presentations, you know, to hopefully helping me do some stuff for the website and help promote our organization. And when we have a lot of interns, it's really helped with the community producers, because not everybody that gets involved that has a program really wants to get involved with the technology. And not everybody who's really into the technology wants to really produce their own program. And so oftentimes what we end up becoming is kind of like a matchmaker to match up those that have the production ideas and the content ideas with those that are really interested in the technology and using it to help the producers tell their story. So it often starts, most of the time, you know, exploration and production starts with a phone call to us, so that way we can learn a little bit about each person that's interested, what they're interested in doing, and then help get them involved with other community members that can help support those interests in one way or another. When we say that GCTV is open to the entire community, we mean the entire community, and that includes persons with disabilities, both cognitive and physical. We have worked and collaborated with organizations like Vista and Besby and Sarah to provide a range of opportunities for people who are interested in getting involved, either as producers, as volunteers, or simply to explore what video production is all about. And that's come in the form of formal internships and sometimes workshops. We've also worked with organizations that homeschool children who are not formally in public school but are in a homeschool situation and have done workshops there as well, or they've come in and worked on projects. So anybody that wants to get involved with us just needs to send me an email, give me a phone call, just stop by the studio during our office hours, which is on our website, and tell me about what you're interested in doing, and then we can see what's possible. So that's a really good question in terms of what kind of equipment can be used and what kind of format for programming can be submitted to us. So GCTV, in terms of our cameras, we have several camcorders that are chip based. They have a little media card. When I first started, and I've been with GCTV for about 15 years now, and when we first started, we were still VHS. And then we kind of went from VHS to high 8 to the mini DV tapes, and then probably about maybe 3 to 5 years ago, we switched over to the cameras that have the media card. And, so that's just, and all that really is in and of itself is the recording device for the digital media. When there are other camcorders, of which an iPhone is kind of a version of one, that record everything onto a hard drive. And it's just recording the data. It's just where the data lands. And then it's a matter of, depending on what device you use, bringing it down to the studio, and do you have the wire for if it's your device, do you have the proper wire for connecting it to the computer to offload the information? If it's just on a media card, then we slip it into the media slot on the computers, and we can copy the footage, so that way you can look at it and edit it. Our computers can handle high definition without a problem. And probably to some degree 4K as well. In fact, most iPhones now record in some version of 4K.
So you want at least 4K probably.
No, not necessarily. In fact, I mean, if you record in 4K, that's fine. But when you go from standard definition to high definition to 4K, the higher it goes, that's the more hard drive space on your media card or hard drive it's going to take up, and two, the more processing power it's going to require on the computer to edit, meaning also more time. And the long and the short of it really is that you can use our equipment, you can use your equipment, or a combination of both. The one thing that we really probably can't handle too well anymore is if you're bringing something on VHS and high 8. But basically any of the digital stuff, we can figure it out. You just need to maybe come and talk to us ahead of time if you want to use your equipment, and bring it down, because we'll take a look at it and see what's going to work, see what maybe of ours we can pair with it in terms of microphones and things like that. And then we've got the capabilities and at the studio and the equipment to then convert what you have to the format that we can use to broadcast it. So, and people have used everything from DSLRs to standard camcorders, and now really we're actually, just this last year, we've started doing more with mobile devices, because their cameras have really improved quite a bit. And now there's better attachments too to get better audio off of a camera. So, pretty much a lot of people have everything they need in their back pocket, literally, to do at least some short videos. And then if you get into things that are a little bit more involved, more people that you need to mic, maybe you want better lighting, that's where coming down and talking to us, we might be able to lend out cameras that can take more microphones, or that's where we set you up in the studio, if that makes sense for what it is that you're trying to produce. No, there's no minimum. We've had everything from 30 seconds to close to 5 hours. So Yep, that's some of the town meetings. So there's no minimum at all. In fact, over the last couple of years, I've tried to talk to some of the organizations that utilize this about how sometimes the short 5-minute save the date videos end up being more effective. You can certainly do longer formats when it warrants in terms of, if you have more of a panel discussion type situation going on, or you're going to do a longer video that's highlighting the full organization. But if you're trying to promote an upcoming event or something like that, you might want to do one longer format to give all the details on the event, but then do a couple short 2 to 5 minute save the dates just as reminders, so that way it's not the same thing running over and over again.
You made a reference to maybe a panel discussion, and I'm curious in terms of the community, what's the eligibility? Say you had a couple different people for a panel discussion that would be informational. Would everyone need to be from the Guilford community, or could you have?
Not at all. Not at all. Usually, somebody from the Guilford community needs to be the one that's initiating the program. But after that, you can have people from the region, you can have people from out of state. You can be a Guilford person taking out our equipment and traveling out of state and or even out of town. We've had people film, bands and festivals down in New London, which is totally fine.
A few years ago, I went to New York City to the United Nations to record a Peace Day, a 3-hour Peace Day meeting.
Yeah, and that was an initiative that was actually put together by our president David Weinberg, and it was he did this several years in a row, where he also invited students from the high school to do the same thing. So it's just, Guilford TV is about what's of interest to the Guilford community, and while yes, a lot of that is obviously going to be based in Guilford, not all of it, and that's totally fine. In fact, part of on our YouTube channel, I've got things organized by several playlists, including things that are more of regional interest going on that people have filmed. That's not just about Guilford, but definitely involves Guilford and would interest Guilford people.
If I just search YouTube then for Guilford TV, I'll come up with most of your listings, I would take it.
You would, and I also have links to videos throughout our website as well. If you go to the tab that says Watch GCTV on our website, you'll find information about how to look up what's on our broadcast channels, as well as how to find our YouTube channel.
Keep me busy.
What we're here for. And also, don't feel that you have to wait for the next talk to come up. I mean, we're doing these because we want to better inform the community of what's available to them through GCTV, but we certainly don't want anybody to feel that they have to wait until a talk. I mean, call or email me right away if you have something that you want to discuss, or a program that you want to do, or just questions that you have. That's ultimately what we're here for. There's really no limit on training either. I mean, again, you can bring your own equipment and we'll help you work with that. Come and learn how to use our equipment. Depending on what it is that you want to learn how to do, oftentimes a basic training for field will be about an hour. For studio, maybe 2 hours. Editing, we usually recommend wait to learn editing until you have something to film. And then either Sam or I will sit down with a new person and walk them through the editing process. But we really leave it up to the individual person as to how often they feel they need to or want to come back, either to refresh skills that they're just starting to learn, or to come back because now they want to explore something different. They've mastered a certain set of skills and now they want to just experiment and explore with a different technique. And again, all that requires is just contacting us and finding out when there's availability, either in the facility, or if you need to meet with somebody specific at GCTV, our availability. Because the ultimate goal is, once we get people comfortable and self-sufficient with the equipment and the process of planning and scheduling their time in the studio and using the studio and field equipment, then we really want them to just book their time and come in and produce. Somebody is always there for tech support at the facility when you're editing and doing the studio shoot. So we're always there if there's questions. But really, once people are comfortable with what they're doing, we just want it to be a place where people can come in and work on their show. And the best part is when they come in, work on their show, and they bring new people with them and share their information and act as, well, anything, typically a lot of what we've had is shows promoting upcoming events or organizations, some public commentary shows, budget-related shows, some political-related shows. But occasionally, and especially in the last couple of years, we've had a few more people come in to do some really creative stuff, more fictional, that sort of thing. We've had some acoustic music in the studio, either, by sometimes solo or sometimes maybe 2-3 people, a couple comedy bits, things like that. So, pretty much anything goes. If you can think it up, then you can make it happen at GCTV. It's just a matter of giving yourself the time to learn the equipment and the process that you would need to get yourself there. In terms of, our studio itself is a 4-camera studio. We have, again, we have high def equipment. The problem is that we can't always broadcast in high definition on the channels. But even if you, but you can still create a high def copy for yourself, or even to go up on YouTube, which will take high definition, even though we're going to broadcast out in standard definition on the broadcast channels. Our computers are all Macintosh based. We use Adobe products for our editing. Some of the computers have the full suite of Adobe products, everything from Premiere Pro to After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, all of that. And then all the computers now have the ability to edit on Adobe Premiere at the very least. There's GarageBand if you want to kind of create your own music tracks and things like that. People do voiceovers. We have green screen for anybody that wants to do chroma key effects and that sort of thing in the studio. And we also have a portable green screen and stand for anybody that wants to be able to take it out on location. So, so you can get it, and it's there for anybody that wants to use it. You can keep things as simple, or create something even more intricate. If you want to, or start out slow and then eventually build up your skills as you get more interested in different things and just start adding new skills. It's a great way to meet people. It's a wonderful way to build a resume. If you're either in school, looking to get into college or to graduate from college, but even people that are kind of looking for a career change or just want to know more about producing media for whatever reason, you can get involved for that reason. And it's kind of a win-win situation, because people might get involved for a certain reason, but the way that they get involved here, it helps the community, because they're helping out other producers on their shows while learning something new. They're giving us programming, which is our main mission, is to get programming. We wouldn't exist if it weren't for community producers making programming for the channels, because that is why we are here. But we've made it a very close and equal, almost equal mission, that as we're creating programming and an opportunity for the community to share their ideas and things that are important to them, it's equally important that we create a facility that's also an educational facility that allows people to come in and just learn about the process and while helping to produce programming. We hear that a lot from people that it's just I'm not a techie person, it's way beyond me, can't do it. And the thing is that, again, GCTV is a something for everybody organization, and anybody can come in and try their hand at it, and not everything that we have to offer is going to be the right fit for everyone, but usually if you just give yourself some time to kind of step up to the equipment, there's something in there that will suit just about everybody. And I was the least technical person you would have ever met. This was not something that was a likely career choice for me for a variety of reasons, one of which is I'm actually visually impaired. Enough so that you don't want me driving, but you totally want me helping you with your video. But, so there was that. And that I had never really gravitated towards computers or cameras until one day in high school I had to create a video project for history class of all things. And, it was really my first time picking up a camera, and I wrote the script because I was always a very organized person, so it was kind of outlining my thoughts and what needed to be done was a natural thing. And then when I picked up the camera, I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. It didn't blow up or anything. And, the seed was kind of planted. And then, as I got into college, I decided, okay, I'm going to, this is something I'm going to do. Something about the technology and the equipment kind of gave me control over my world that I don't typically get when I'm out there in the real world on a sports field behind a car, even sometimes as a pedestrian. But I totally get computers. I didn't before, but once I kind of was almost forced into it by another project, it kind of just clicked, And so that's kind of what we try to, that's kind of the environment we try to keep at GCTV is aside from making sure that people do things safely and legally, in terms of not taking copyrighted material and stuff like that. There's 1,000 different ways to accomplish the same thing. And we just kind of got to keep going through some of the different ways until we find what works for a particular person. And what works for one may not work for the other, and that's fine. So that's kind of how we approach things, getting into some in-depth conversations about, different equipment and things like that. It's interesting because, there are some people that definitely fall on the, on the Windows versus Mac camp. And then when you get into cameras, there's the Canon versus Nikon. And then you got everybody in between, and you get people that are very dedicated to a specific brand and equally as against other brands. And then you've got other people that, it's like, hey, it's all gear, it's all good, and so we tend to have, I always particularly like the Sony cameras and the JVC cameras, at least for using it at the studio. I personally have a small Sony HD camera that I love, and then when I finally decided to upgrade, and I had a little Sony point and shoot too for still camera, and then I finally decided to upgrade and I went Nikon. But there's other people, they swear by the Canons, and Canons have always been known because they have excellent lenses, and even some of our high-end Sony cameras, I think, have actually I would say our JVC. When we had VHS cameras, I think it was the JVC was the camera, and then then they had Canon lenses on them when we were VHS. So it's interesting because different companies do different things very well. Part of being nonprofit is that we're not subject to Nielsen ratings in terms of our cable viewership, so we have never really had a good sense of who watches us on cable, except that if something goes wrong, the number of phone calls coming in has been a pretty good indicator if there was a technical problem. So we do know people watch. We hear from a lot of people that, especially, when the kids have gone to bed and it's later at night, a lot of people, they'll come up and say we've watched, that they watch a lot of the town meetings, or I'll get phone calls from people because we get a lot of channel surfers, they'll pick up bits and pieces of this show and that show, and then because we change our programming about 3 times a week, then I'll get a phone call or an email saying, well, I just saw this show, when's it coming back on? It was about this, and they don't know the name of it or even quite what time, but they said, yeah, it ran on Tuesday and this was what it was about. And so people do watch. And then when I look at YouTube, The channel's been active since 2009, but we really did a lot with it since we went server technology and all digital files in 2013. And since then, we have over 100,000 views worldwide, and over 1,000 videos online. We add weekly to that. We pretty much, we have archived stuff back to 2013, at least for the town stuff, and a lot of other community programs that are of a timeless nature. Oftentimes I'll go in and clean out anything that's promoting an upcoming event just to get rid of any confusion. But pretty much if it goes up there, it stays there.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Come down for a tour. A good first step is to just call and come down for a tour of the studio. No more than 20 minutes or so. We'll, come see the studio and the editing suites, and we can talk a little bit more about, just ideas that you have. There's absolutely no commitment for you to, once you come in, for you to, book time right away or anything like that.
But you're posting your office hours, are you?
It's on our website. Yep, we post our office hours on the website, but it's still, even at that, it's still better to email or call me ahead of time, only because there are office hours, but if we have a lot of people in or shows and stuff, then we might not really be available to meet with you. So it's better to make an appointment. But aside from that, come in and check the place out, and then take it all in, and then decide what you want to do next. If some people decide, okay, I'll work on the script, and then they book time right away for the studio. Sometimes after a tour and some discussion, there's some back and forth. They'll write the script. They want to go over a couple more things and before they get going, and oftentimes they might bring some other people on board with them who want to help out behind the scenes and receive training. We encourage that. Get family, friends, get your kids involved. We'll teach them all the production process. We have a list of volunteers that are interested in the production end of things, so we can email them as things get closer, depending on the show. If you need technical support, we'll see who of the volunteers might be available to help you. But we always recommend to new producers, if they're coming up with content and things, to try to engage people in their inner circle as much as possible, because that's the best way to get a team of people trained who are going to help support you in your project, that you can work with closely. But we've also never had a show not go on and happen because we haven't had a crew. Running a volunteer organization is also a lot of, here's my plan A, B, C, D. And, the show always goes on. So thank you all for coming, and I hope to see all of you down at the studio sometime soon. Keep an eye out for upcoming events, and in addition to the ones that I mentioned, we've got a couple others geared specifically to students, how to film with mobile devices, and script writing sessions and things like that. And this is all going on through December, but I'm working with other board members to do some other videographer forum type things down at the studio specifically. And it might be that we'll do some more like this in the spring through the library as well. So thank you, everybody.